Court is indeed in session. Good evening and welcome to the show. You're listening to me, Gushwell Brooks, here on 91.9 on the Legal Lifeline. Wonderful to be in your company, of course. And you know, this is where we discuss things all legal. And tonight, I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation in particular because there's a very snazzy conference coming up very soon. It's called I keep on getting it wrong, so I'll say it slowly, the Lex Informatica cyber law and ICT conference, and that's happening, if I'm not mistaken, 30th and the 31st of July.
30th and 31st of July.
And sitting across from me is a very good friend of not just the show, but myself, and that is, of course, Professor Sizwe Snail. Now, this is your second appearance here. It should have been your third by now, but we won't go there.
Thanks for having me always on your show.
No, always a pleasure. Of course, you guys know where to get a hold of us, 084-221-2919. That's the WhatsApp line that you will be using. So please go ahead and send us a voice note, alternatively a text message, because, as I mentioned, it's Professor Sizwe Snail sitting across from me. He is an attorney. He runs his own practice called Snail Attorneys. But apart from that, he's also an adjunct professor, and I just found out for 7 years. So that gives away our age for a little bit there. At Nelson Mandela University, he is a prof of cyber law as well there. And in my opinion, the authority, the South African authority when it comes to cyber law. And the man that I should credit for convincing me to join the profession. Not only did he convince me to join the profession, he actually did my admission. Good evening to you, Prof, and thanks for joining us.
Evening to you, Gush, and as I said, good evening to your listeners, and it's always great to be here.
Brilliant. So, Prof, look, I mean, it's not all too often here on the Legal Lifeline. We normally take a legal question. So, say the law of insolvency that I did with Michael Timvius a couple of weeks ago. I discussed bail with a good friend of mine, Zweli. Another one, he's also an advocate at the same group that I'm at. We discuss cyberbullying, that's associated, and so on and so forth. So ordinarily it's a legal problem, but tonight we're not necessarily discussing a problem, we're discussing a conference. And there,
Right.
as I mentioned, the Lex Informatica Cyber Law and ICT Conference. Can you tell us a little more about it?
Okay, so the Lex Informatica Conference was started literally 19 years ago.
Wow.
And it was called the South African Cyber Law Conference at the time. I then left the firm where I was working, and then I started working at Reinhardt Buys in Pretoria. And I wanted to continue having a conference. So we thought the best way of doing this is to rename it, and then we came up with the name Lex Informatica. In other words, the law of information, of informatics, the law of the digital space, basically. So that is how we started the Lex Informatica. When I left Reinhardt Buys 2 years later, they were gracious enough to let me leave with it. And I then continued with it, and here we are, 18 episodes later.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating. But what did cyber law look like back then? Considering that obviously, and the reason why I'm asking that is because, I mean, if I have to sort of rewind back to my student years, the closest that we ever came to anything remotely resembling a cyber law today was the law of telecommunications. And that was literally, and then, mobility was a new thing. I mean, mobile access was a new thing. There was hardly any law around that. So what did cyber law look like when you started this conference?
So when we started the conference, I think we started it very innocently with my then principal. We wanted to host some ICT law experts, have them all in a room, have them have breakfast and lunch. And yeah, we did the first installment, the likes of Reinhardt Buys, who we call the father of cyber law. He was the first editor and the second editor of the cyber law textbook, Cyber Law Essay.
Uh-huh.
He was there, and there's a whole lot of other, should I say, experts and ICT professionals, the likes of your Mark Hayings. We've had them coming. We've had all sorts of people, all sorts of attorneys, advocates. Some are working for big business now. Some are actually practicing attorneys. So yeah, we've had a very, very interesting mix of people. Then we've had the likes of Professor Domitier, who came from Louvain. We've had the likes of Claudio de la Sena from Paraíba University. He was one of our first visitors.
Wow.
You will note this year we have Professor Luca Belli from FGV CTS in Brazil, from Rio de Janeiro. He will be one of our key speakers. We had the likes of Prof. Dr. Mohammed Chakwi, a very, very good friend and colleague of mine who's based in Egypt and Saudi Arabia. So we've, over the year, even created a WhatsApp group.
Wow.
Yeah.
I made a comment about that before the show. You
exactly.
and your WhatsApp groups.
But you know the WhatsApp group. You're on it yourself.
Yeah.
And we created this WhatsApp group, and we called it the International ICT Law Group. Now, as much as we have the WhatsApp group, the WhatsApp group hasn't been the driving force of the conference. The conference itself was all about presenting papers, having academia mix with the, should I say, with the practical aspects in practice. So we had the likes of Prof. Tana Pistorius, Prof. Dana van der Merwe. We've really had lots of interesting people over the years. Now, what is it that they're talking about? Well, you will see this year's theme is very flexible. Over the years, we always try to hone down on a specific theme.
Yeah.
But because cyber law is so fluid and so ubiquitous, we decided that this year we're actually going to open it up, right? We're going to open it up. When you look at cyber law as a subject, or ICT law as they call it in some universities, there it's obviously very structured. You have your legal informatics, your legal philosophy, then you have your telecoms law that you mentioned, your e-commerce law, which I do, telecoms, the likes of Lucian Pierce from PPM, is a Joburg-based attorney. He'll be also there. He wrote the chapter on that, on telecoms. Yeah, you know Lucian.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know Lucian. Then we have Prof. Sebotladi, she's from UJ. She wrote the textbook on, the chapter on consumer protection.
Okay.
Myself and Sylvia Papadopoulos, we wrote data protection and POPIA. As you can hear, it's got different segments. There's a segment on copyright. I think we had Prof. Klopper write that. Domain names. I then also did a chapter with Jason Jordan. He's one of our famous cyber forensic experts in South Africa. We did a chapter on information security. Yeah, we did a lot. There's another chapter also on defamation. Interestingly, I've just been doing a lot of defamation cases. Like it's actually, I hope some of my students are listening.
And by the way, I want to remind the listeners that we did do an episode on cyberbullying.
Yes.
And I guess that, so go check out the Ferguson Media YouTube page. You'll find it there.
Yes.
And I guess, Prof, you and I can have a very long conversation about how we misbehave ourselves online.
I mean, look, you will recall yourself, Advocate Brooks, you and I were in a very contentious matter.
Yeah.
That matter where the, what are they called? Podcasts. The podcast,
Open chats.
Open chats.
Open
yes.
chats.
Where our clients were in hot water, and we had to get them out of that.
Hey.
You know, but it had a good ending. had a good
It did.
ending.
It did.
So that is cyber law as well. If people don't understand what cyber law is, that is cyber law. Regulating content, as I said, that it doesn't have hate speech, that it doesn't defame anyone. That's all cyber law. E-evidence, Professor Murdoch Watney, she wrote that chapter in the cyber law textbook. So over the years, as I said, it developed. And what I like about the Lex Informatica is that we've always invited our competition. It was never just Snail Attorneys wanting to shine on its own. We always see to it that we have our, I won't call them now our competition because some of them have become friends and colleagues over the years, but we've always encouraged other law firms to present at our conference.
But I find that absolutely fascinating because in as much as you're saying that it's competition, because I guess it becomes competition from the perspective that if a client goes to law firm A, B over Snail Attorneys, then that becomes competitive. But I think that for me what stands out is that, Prof, you have an extremely academic approach to this, that it's collaborative. I mean, I'm listening to how these textbooks have been authored, and all too often it's the life journey of a singular prof. I think that we all, I mean, if I'm thinking about Professor Skeen and the law of evidence, right? It was his work. If you think about, I don't know if he ever, because I graduated by then, Professor Dandy was busy working on a delict textbook years back when I was still studying. And look, that was just an ongoing thing. That textbook just never came. But it was his thing. What you described is a collaborative effort where different people with different expertise put it together. And it plays out on that WhatsApp group, as you had highlighted, where it's not just Lex Informatica that's there. It's all kinds of conferences. It's in Tanzania. It's in Egypt. It's in somewhere in some distant part of the world where you didn't think that they were lawyers, right? And that for me is absolutely fascinating.
Look, for me, the conference was at some stage part of the firm's, should I say, revenue-making stream. And then at some point when I was working at the information regulator part-time, COVID came, and we literally did an online version of the conference. And I think that is when I realized the importance of this conference. Because at the time, we literally made nothing that year, But we had the Lex Informatica. The videos are there, actually. If you can go on our YouTube site of Snail Attorneys, they're there. So we had the entire conference play out in the online space.
Wow. And more importantly, the thing is people would not have, because I think during COVID, a lot of these types of initiatives died.
Yeah.
Where it's a conference and, well, we can't fly to wherever because we're all in lockdown in some shape or form. And these things just petered out. They just completely petered out. So in other words, the appetite was there for people then to say, listen, let's do this thing online. And then from online, we're back to where we are today, where you're able to have an in-person conference.
Look, I've noticed there is a difference between an online conference and an in-person event.
Yeah.
We were chatting outside just before we started, where I was saying to you that when I was teaching at Forte, where I introduced cyber law some 10 years ago, there we had block sessions. They would fly me literally there every 2 weeks, and I would have these block sessions, 2 lectures on a Tuesday, 2 lectures on a Wednesday, and then fly back out. When COVID hit, we had to become very, very creative. I mean, look, they're using things like Blackboard now. They've got all these learning softwares where basically your Zoom or your MS Teams is integrated and everything. Yeah, they've perfected that industry. But when COVID hit,
those things didn't exist.
Hey, I'm telling you, Advocate Brooks, we literally had to turn to our own devices. I remember that is when I started enjoying a WhatsApp group with my students at the time. And, you know, what people are talking about now, about regulating WhatsApp groups and having rules and conditions,
Yeah.
that was one of the first things that we thought about. And this is an academic group. No one's going to be talking nonsense on this group. We're going to be sharing documents only and videos. And yes, here and there would be a joke from a student. Here and there, maybe there would be a comment from me in Xhosa or on a video, and people would be like, oh, Prof is going off in Xhosa. I enjoyed teaching at Forte because I could get away with that, where I could, you know, just switch over to my mother tongue and teach cyber law in that way. Sometimes at Nelson Mandela, I can do that as well, but it's a more mixed university, it's more diverse.
Yeah.
So there, you know, I think people would frown on me teaching cyber law in Xhosa. But when I was at Forte, those students who know me, those who are attorneys now, or those who are magistrates, or wanting to be judges,
Hey, by the way,
they will tell you that cyber law with Prof. Snail, Meshisa. Meshisa. It was hot, you know? Because
Prof, what we're going to do is let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we get back to you know what
the conference
is going to entail, some more of your academic work, and I think I'm going to slip in a challenge, an academic challenge for you, which I'm sure you're going to take up anyway.
Okay.
And that is, since you taught in isiXhosa, we need an isiXhosa textbook for cyber law pretty soon.
You know what I did a couple of months ago? I took AI and I threw one of my AI articles and I asked Google to translate it. And I gave it to my mother.
Yeah.
And she read it. She said, sure. This is very good, Xhosa. Did you write this? I'm like, no, I didn't write this. Google translated this for me.
It is 25 minutes past 6 o'clock. Welcome back. It is 6:30. You're listening to me, Gushwell Brooks, here on 91.9, having a great conversation with Professor Sizwe Snail. And remember, earlier on, I asked you guys to pop us your WhatsApps, whether it be voice notes, alternatively text messages, to let us know what you're thinking about, what it is that you want to, if you have any comments, if you have any particular questions. So just as a very quick reminder for you how to get a hold of us there, all you have to do is you send us a message on 084-221-2919. And we already got one, Prof, from TP. TP saying, hi, Advocate Brooks, hi, Prof. Snail. TP here, a cyber law attorney in Limpopo. One genuine concern for me, don't you think there might be a barrier to entry for such spaces due to the cost of attending, and will there be an online stream for the Lex Informatica? Thank you. And Prof, I think it touches on a very important question, because I mean, I've attended a couple of conferences, I've spoken at a couple of conferences, I've emceed, facilitated, you name it, right? At various conferences. What is the importance of conferences like Lex Informatica?
You see, one of the things that's important when you're doing an event like this is that your venue needs to be good, right? You want good speakers to come. For instance, we maybe will be having the Deputy Minister and Snail, so we need a holding room, you know, things like that. So people think that organizing the event is just an easy thing, you know. It's very complicated. People, especially in South Africa, like good food.
Okay.
Over the years, I've learned that when you're hosting a conference, people want good food. If the food is not great, the conference is going to have problems, or you're going to have one or two grumpy people sitting in the crowd, you know?
Right.
So
a conference your conference can die as a result.
Yes. So, as I said, we try and choose venues that are not too expensive, that are affordable. I mean, it is a 2-day event, and on the Thursday, we will also have a side event in Hatfield that will be from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock. I'll share you the link for that. Maybe some of your listeners would be interested to come today. So the side event is basically a spin-off of the main event.
Yeah.
Where we're going to have young entrepreneurs, young lawyers, network, basically your cheese and wine setup. We'll have 3 or 4 people presenting papers that were not presented during the day at that. So it will be all for networking, that other event. So we really try and keep the costs low. I mean, I think our early bird was about 2.5, and the actual cost now is 399. If you look at the history, because you can actually find previous flyers on the internet of the event, you will see at some stage we were charging 6,999.
Wow.
And one of the reasons, because of COVID and because conferencing has literally died down,
Yeah.
right? We were forced to cut the costs down. And yes, we will have an online stream as well. And that will be available for 1,500. There will be a link, and there will be an online stream for those who want to join online.
But Prof, I mean, going back to the importance of these types of conferences, I mean, for me, the biggest experience is that you're able to be in the same room as those very same speakers. So
Right.
if you are really involved and engaged in the particular industry, in this instance, cyber law, the authorities on cyber law are in the room. They're the ones speaking, and during those lunch breaks, during those coffee breaks, you have an opportunity to engage with them, to share, exchange ideas, to exchange business cards, to engage in the material that had been discussed. Apart from that, you also have an opportunity to then bring concerns, ideas, or whatever else the case is to the fore, because that panel discussion or that keynote address or whatever it may be, all too often is followed by a question and answer session, where you then have an opportunity to say, listen, I'd like to table the following, and let's think about this, that, and the other. And I think more importantly also, and especially if you are, I mean, coming from as far as Limpopo province or any other province for that matter, into Gauteng to participate in this, you get to exchange ideas and build a network that is beyond your own borders.
Interestingly enough, we've had quite a number of contributions coming from the University of Limpopo. So there will be some speakers there as well. So what we've done this year, we've got our main speakers. As I said, your Lucian Pierces, your Aziz Azar from Baker McKenzie, Narushka Bowen, Sylvia Papadopoulos, Prof. Lonius Ndlovu from University of Venda. Who else? Myself. I guess I'm also important.
You can't forget yourself.
Right. And I mentioned also our international speaker, Prof. Luca Belli. So we will have those keynote speakers, but we've also had younger, should I say, upcoming people in the cyberspace.
Which is important, right?
Presenting papers. So that is the format that we've taken this year. So we've received papers as far as University of Western Cape, some from KZN. So we hope it will really be a stimulating session.
Prof, you know, the bit of homework I haven't done yet that you've given me for quite some time is that Gushwell write a paper. Because I guess you know that I can somehow, I have some writing ability, right?
Right.
But the thing is, I mean, let's be honest, I just never got around to it. So how do these papers work? What ultimately, you know, when you talk about a paper, is this, because I guess everyone wants to know, is this going to be published in a book? Is it going towards a journal? How am I building on that academic knowledge, and where do I even start? That's what a lot of people think.
So what we do every time when we have the Lex Informatica, we collect abstracts, and we ask people to submit full research papers. We then submit those to various journals that we collaborate with. This year we're collaborating with the Turf Law Journal, They will be reviewing papers that have been presented at the conference. Goes through a very strict peer review process. So we will be having also reviewers from all over the world. As you know, on our WhatsApp group, they're very easy to find, these reviewers.
Indeed.
So we'll have reviewers from all over the world reviewing these papers, double-blind reviewing them, and then obviously a select few will then be published if they are deemed publishable. But if a paper is not deemed publishable, that is not the end of your publication stream. It could be the beginning of you writing other articles. It could be the beginning of you focusing more on cyber law. As I say, when I wrote my first article, there is this famous article on cybercrime that I wrote. It was my first article to be published, 2007, due to business law.
Gee.
Yeah, I was.
At the time, I'd graduated by then, but I never even thought that.
So that first article on cybercrime, I wrote that article overnight. It was actually an opinion for a client.
Yeah.
And my then principal felt that, hey, this is good, man. You need to publish this, man. and we took a chance. We sent it to JBL. They published it immediately.
Wow.
Then I did some work with Cypel on domain names. They were launching that whole domain name ADR system of theirs. So I did a lot of work with them there. I ended up publishing a paper with the Vindibona Journal in Australia.
Gee.
And yeah, and I remember we were sitting in the lounge, a copy of the journal, you know, the post was still working then. It arrived, and my father was like, dude, I think you're going to be a professor one day.
Yeah.
You know, at the pace that you are publishing.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, like I said, it was something I love. Just maybe to explain why Lex Informatica, why computers. I think your listeners deserve to hear this.
By all means, please.
So my first love is computers. Funny enough.
I think you told this to me once
Yes.
upon a time.
Yes. My first love was computers. Also music, by the way, and production. Hence I told you when I get into a studio, I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Looking at all the equipment.
Yeah, looking at all the equipment, wanting to touch the mics and wanting to touch the mixing tables. You know, that's me. And then my father was like, no, dude. No ways, dude. I paid too much money for you for you to go into entertainment, you know.
There's a problem with education.
Yeah.
The parents are like, nah, guy, I didn't pay all those fees for you to go become a DJ.
So I always tell my students this joke that I asked my dad, could I become a pilot? He said, dude, do you really want to be a bus driver in the sky?
Yo.
You know?
Wow. Wow. Your father was brutal with that, eh?
So yeah, I had these very funny inspirations. When we were staying in Germany at the time, my parents were studying. My dad was busy with his masters, and he was into politics. And every 3 years, the university would give him a computer. I swear. So I've literally evolved with the computer. The Commodore 64 with a tape drive.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow,
that
wow.
stuff you guys read in textbooks, I had that.
Gee
Right?
whiz,
A
eh?
Commodore 64, tape drive, GW Basic, on the TV, you know.
Wow.
And then I progressed. I remember I had my first computer that had EGA.
Yo, EGA.
Yeah,
16 colors.
The EGA was 4, I think.
Four
Yeah, it
colors.
was 4. Yeah. Then I had an Amiga.
Yo.
An Amiga was an amazing thing. I see everyone
No
in the
wonder you're the
studio.
authority on
I see
cyber.
everyone in the studio is loving. Then I had an Amiga, and then we left South Africa.
Yeah.
And then, we left for South Africa, and then we got to South Africa. And my dad was teaching at UNISA at the time,
Uh-huh.
and the computer thing continued. you know.
Ah.
Obviously, it was a tit for tat. I would have to write his articles, type them out for him. Yeah, that was, I guess,
On the
training.
word processor.
Maybe that was training, you know.
Yeah.
I would have to do proposals with him, set up late at night, and I was like his typewriter. So yes, there was a little of
A tit for tat.
a tit for tat. But when the XT came out, the 286, the 386.
I was about to say, by the time the 286 came out, I'm sure you were like,
when the
we are in the
386
future.
came out, Bona, your Sound Blaster, Sound
Jeez.
Blaster, 8-bit, then 16-bit, and then they even had a sound card called Turtle Beach. I'm telling you, I had the sound card, and then I was one of the first kids in our street, I remember, to have a flatbed scanner.
Gee whiz.
And you don't want to know some of the things we got up to as kids with the scanner. You know, I'd rather not say.
Well, one page was 8 megabytes.
I'd rather not say what we did with the scanner back in the days. And then, yes, I had a CD writer.
Wow.
Yes. I teach copyright infringement now, but I was one of the biggest infringers then. You could come to me.
You got the practical knowledge.
Yeah,
there.
you could come to me. I'd cut your CD. You know, if you had a CD.
You were that guy.
Yeah, I was that guy, man. Or if you need a copy of software, I was that guy.
That guy.
Yeah, you know. Obviously, over the years, I grew, and then I was like, but this is copyright infringement, you stop it.
No, sure.
And yeah, and then at
We were
some
all
point,
teenagers at some point.
yeah, and then at some point, I was at Tux. Joined Tux in 2000. We were the first LLB group. Enjoyed Tux for 3 years. Had fun, was a student. And then in my 4th year came cyber law.
Wow.
If Prof. Dagama, if you're listening, yeah, so Prof. Dagama, Joachim Dagama, he was the guy who was teaching us cyber law. We had a very small class. I think it was 5 of us.
Yeah.
And I also did my scriptsy dissertation on e-contracts. This dissertation would end up in a journal article later. It would end up being the basis for the e-contracts chapter in cyber law.
Wow.
So, you know, everything built up on each other.
It's amazing. It's an amazing life chapter. Look, I have to take a quick break, but before I do that, I got a really cool WhatsApp from Shane. And Shane, thanks for this one. Good evening, gentlemen. Loving the discussion this evening. Thank you. Loving the old retro computer chat in particular. Great memory, Prof. Scanners were the bomb. Cheers, says Shane. And he calls you Prof Pirate. 6:45. Welcome back. You're listening to me, Gushwell Brooks. And of course, sitting across from me is Professor Sizwe Snail. We're having a lovely conversation, just an absolute lovely conversation here about cyber law, the history of computers. Geez, we went through almost the entire evolution. I mean, you started off with the Commodore 64.
Commodore 64.
Gee whiz, with the
Use the tape deck.
I didn't even have that. I started with a 286, and I thought I was ancient.
Yeah.
But Prof, and that then obviously led to your genesis, your love for cyber law and all things cyber law, because you started off with this curiosity and this love for computers.
Right.
Your dad said, "Nah, you're not going to be." And I guess, you know, at the time we don't quite understand these things when our parents are like, "No, this is not what you're going to do. You're going to do something else." But the point is that today, as I said, you are not just in my opinion. I'm sure if we go back to the WhatsApp group and I have to ask this question, and I'm sure you wouldn't let me ask this question there, that you are definitely the leading authority on cyber law. I mean, just very quickly, while we touching on the conference and obviously the work that you do in the cyber law space, where do you think we are as a country compared to the rest of the world, including the global north, the developed world, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to our sophistication and understanding of cyber law?
I like that question because I think it also has something to do with the genesis of my writing. Initially, I wrote a lot about e-commerce, domain names. That was the internet at the time as we knew it. A lot of e-contracts, a lot of writings were in that direction. And then somehow I got into the regulatory space. I started writing, as I said, that cybercrime article that everyone loves. Gee, that was, an opinion that I had to do under duress for a client. But it then changed. I started writing cybercrime materials, and then at some point I was called upon by the president at the time to go and work at the information regulator. So then I got into the data protection
And that's how we met, by the way, just for anyone that's interested. Yes. I was a young buck at the South African Human Rights Commission as the then head of communications, and then we rubbed shoulders because you shared the same building.
Yes, I was bumming a lighter. I was bumming a lighter. I didn't have a lighter, and I was like, "Hey, Rastaman, can I please have a light?" And then Gush gave me that smile of his. You've got that addictive smile.
Thanks. I'll take it. I'll take it from your lips to God's ears.
Yeah.
And that's how we met. And I mean, you were by far, for me, at the time, I mean, the information regulator was brand spanking new. I mean, at the time, I mean, literally, I think people think this is hyperbole when you say these things. There was no furniture. You didn't even have furniture.
We started that thing from scratch. I was actually laughing as I was driving on the highway. There's a big sign now, information regulator, there in Woodmead.
Yeah.
The sign, the logo, we did that logo. I was like, and it was a good 5 years. I remember when the portfolio committee asked me, do you want to go full-time or part-time? I refused to go full-time. I remember I told the portfolio committee at the time, I said, I have a 6-year-old child called Snail Attorneys.
Right.
16 years later now, Snail Attorneys is still there. I did my stint at the regulator. I'm back. I'm doing what I love now, writing law, teaching law. And as I said, I've traveled the whole world, and I think I intend to do more for the profession in terms of this. What I think people are also should be aware of, this AI buzz. It's great. But we are forgetting other things now. Things like cybersecurity. We are, I'm telling you, we are leaving things like data protection, and these things are all intertwined. Hence the topics, as I said, for this year's conference, we've allowed it. IoTs, right? Internet of Things, big data, AI, artificial intelligence, data protection, e-commerce. We just allow everyone to say something,
And it's very important. I mean, going back to the point that you're making is that all too often you'll have these businesses investing a hell of a lot of money into cybersecurity, protecting their data in some shape or form. And then along comes Gersh working for said company. And, there's a report due. And I take all of that privileged, confidential information from this business, put it onto an open AI platform so that the report can be quickly generated for me and I can submit said report. And there's a high probability that my boss, who is overextended, then takes that very same report, re-uploads it back onto some AI platform.
Of course.
To get a summary.
You see, I like the words that you used. You used a lot of legal words that someone may just oversee or overlook. You say you took the client's confidential information and you threw it into AI. Do you know where that AI is sitting? Do you know who else's information is being mixed in that AI?
Hey.
Right? So I always tell people that, look, when you're drafting using AI, be very careful because you may end up divulging confidential data. And remember now, you're using AI, so it's mixing this information with other people's information. Look, it's a great drafting tool sometimes.
Yeah.
You can ask AI to do a draft for you. If you're drafting particular papers or things, or it can be a nice start to give you an outline. But AI should never be used alone you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially for research. I frown on it. I catch my students out immediately when they use AI. It's always hilarious when I see an article that I've never written that has wrong references. You know, and
Oh,
then,
when you get quoted, but it's not
yes,
you.
and then I'm like, I never wrote that. You know, and that's how you pick up that people
Yeah.
may have used AI. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, yes, we're not going to focus on that AI buzz. Some of the topics, for instance, data sovereignty is going to be one of the biggest topics. I know Prof. Bailey is going to be talking about data sovereignty. I myself, I've decided not to give a paper. I will rather give a keynote type of presentation.
Sure.
Where I'm going to talk about the convergence of data protection, cybersecurity, and AI.
Day one, day two?
Day one.
Eish.
I think it's day one.
I must.
Yeah, day
You
one.
know why I'm saying that, right?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing that. And as I said, there's going to be some fantastic speakers coming there.
Yeah.
It's going to be good vibes, 2 days. And as I said, on the first evening, we're doing something completely different. We're having this spin-off in Hatfield. As I said, I'm going to share the link. It will be limited spaces. I think we'll have about 50 to 80 people who can come to the event. It's a side event, as I said.
I'm booking now.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, I'll give you the link. And we can share it also with our colleagues here in the studio. Where we are literally going to be networking.
Sure.
So we're trying to do things differently. I'm trying to show that I've also gone to other countries and other conferences and seen how they do their conferences. You know, our Lex Informatica was very rigid. It was from 8 o'clock until 1 o'clock, then we have a lunch, and then from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock,
5 o'clock.
and then go home. so this year we're trying to do it different.
Sure.
As I said, we'll still have those formal, rigid presentations, and people will be talking. And as I said, we're having young emerging scholars coming. So we are actually closing the gap. Last year, I had the pleasure of talking at the African Cyber Law Conference,
Okay.
which is an initiative by Dr. Mashinini at WITS. She's also one of our keynote speakers. I'm glad I remembered, right? So she gave me an opportunity to be a keynote speaker there. And in my keynote speaking, I noticed how old I have become. I'm telling you. I was mentioning the greats in cyber law.
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily consider myself a great, but yes, I've contributed. But the greats, as I said, your Dana van der Merwe's, your Prof. Pistorius's, our father of cyber law, Reinhardt Buys, Advocate Francis Grenier. He couldn't make it, unfortunately. He'll be out of the country, but he had said he was going to join us as well.
Prof. Grenier from UP?
No. Advocate Francis Grenier, he's based in Cape Town.
Okay, sorry. No, I'm mixing up the two Greniers there, yeah.
Yeah, so he's written a whole lot of pocket books. I've written with him on the Cybercrimes Act. We're writing right now one on the cybersecurity. And yes, we are working on Cyber Law 5. Van Skyke has been waiting. So for those who are listening in the publishing world, we are working on Cyber Law 5. We have not been quiet. One of the reasons why I think we're taking so long with Cyber Law 5 is the same time we took when we did Cyber Law 4. It was literally a 10-year gap. You can't just be rewriting a textbook every 3-4 years because you want to have something cool or something sexy to boast about, you know? But I think by the end of this year, we will be done with Cyber Law 5. Brilliant. There will be a new chapter on AI. Right?
It's a must. It's a must.
Yeah, it will be there. And
Prof, I got a call. I got a WhatsApp from TP again saying, "Hi, Advocate Brooks. Thank you for answering my previous question. Quick question for Prof. Snail."
Yes.
And it's a very deep question from TP.
Okay.
It's very deep. If you could go back to the very beginning of your legal career, knowing everything you know today,
Yes.
what would you do differently? Looking back at where you started, considering your journey, what decisions or strategies would you adopt to become a better lawyer or professor than you are today? Good evening. This is from T. I mean, that's a deep question. I told you.
I'll tell you what. I have this saying which my father taught me, and he said, when you're a man, whatever decisions you make, even if it's a cuck decision, you need to stay by it.
That's
right?
it. Sure.
So that is my answer. That is your answer too.
No, brilliant. And true. I was, because in as much as TP directed that at you, I mean, there's a hell of a lot that you can look back on and you're like, oh, maybe I could have, I should have avoided this, I should have avoided
Exactly.
that. But if you had avoided this, if you had avoided that, then you wouldn't be where you are today.
No. I think endurance, especially for young black attorneys, there are different legal disciplines out there. It's not just about road accident fund and medical negligence and bail applications. I think that was one of the things.
And very true.
You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to do something different, and I would implore on every young legal mind to do something different. You know, there's mining laws, there's environmental laws, there's space laws. That is how we need to be in.
Spoke
in
to someone
2026.
recently that's doing a doctorate in aviation law.
Exactly.
Prof, we'll have to end it there. As I said, Michael
Thanks.
Timvius is coming up with the Rock Roadhouse up next. Really, thank you so much for your time tonight, Prof, and really loved having you in studio with us. Thank you for all the lovely messages coming through and all the words of encouragement, particularly from you, Shane. But we'll have to leave it here right now. Remember that Lex Informatica Conference is happening from the 30th to the 31st of July. I mean, based on the conversation tonight, very interesting. Look for it on LinkedIn. Yeah, Google it and you'll find it. It's on my LinkedIn as well. I actually posted the link earlier. But cheers from me.